Well, as I said, my name is Pisarowicz. I'm the chapter chairperson or president or whatever. And use the microphone here. Use the microphone so you hear a little better. And this is a program I put together a couple of years ago. I moved to Colorado to attend graduate school at the University of Denver in 1973 and finished up my degree. And then I moved to the University of Texas, and then I moved to South Dakota, and then well, my wife works in National Park Service, and so from there we moved to Boston, and then out to Death Valley, and then back here to Colorado. So that's my second time living in Colorado, and then she got a job working in South Dakota again, and then got back to South Dakota, and then Missouri, and then out to Ohio, and then came back. So in 2016, at the end of 2016, my wife and I both retired from our jobs and came back to Colorado. Now, over the years, I've been, one of my hobbies for the last 30 years or more is taking pictures of wildflowers. And so this is a program, the first spring that I was back in Colorado, out taking pictures of wildflowers. And so I was very happy to do that. I like taking pictures of wildflowers, and I joined the Colorado Native Plant Society when I got back here to Colorado, and so began the spring. And spring begins.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but a voice from the virtual environment. Can you stand as close to the microphone as possible?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So winter ends and spring begins with the spring equinox. And in 2017, that occurred at 4:28 in the morning on March 20th. So starting after March 20th, I start taking pictures of flowers, when I'm out in the field. Oops. And so my first trip of the spring was on March 22nd. I went up to Black Canyon, the Gunnison. I live in Montrose. That's about a 15-minute drive from my house. So my first spring picture in 2017 was of pass flower. So here's a pass flower, and sort of get you all excited for the flowers that are going to be starting coming in spring. Like I think many people that are members of the Native Plant Society, sort of all winter long, I'm just waiting for spring to arrive. Well, now spring has arrived, and my first picture is a pass flower, which is appropriate because pass flower is the state flower of South Dakota, and they're one of the earlier flowers that come up. What's the matter now? Okay, on the same trip, I went out and I found a Gray's biscuit root, a sagebrush buttercup, rock cress. I'm not good at identifying all the rock cress flowers that are out there, but this is one of them. Then I went down to Billy Creek State Wildlife Area. So this is my next trip out, and I was out there and I saw some coyote willows, and I found this nice willow pine cone gall on that coyote lily. And then here's a non-native plant of the Fillery storkbill. This is also down in the Billy Creek State Wildlife Area. And up on the Uncompahgre Plateau, on Uncompahgre Lake Forest, I found several examples of wide-winged spring parsleys. Now, when I go out taking pictures, I'm usually lying on the ground. I always carry a pad for me to lie down so I can take pictures. And in the spring, that's a good time to have a pad because the ground is still wet. In some cases, there's actually still snow or frozen ground. There's a wild alyssum, again up on the Uncompahgre National Forest. Back down to the Billy Creek on March 27th, the creeping Oregon grape. Also in the Billy Creek area, a three-leaf sumac. Western chokecherry is starting to bloom out. Scarlet hedgehog cactus. This is right, if you ever been down to the Billy Creek area, when you first drive into it, there's a little side road that goes up to an overlook, and these grow along the hillside there, going up to that overlook at Billy Creek. Some remnants of last summer's spreading dogbane there. You see the seed pods. Again, on that hillside going up to the overlook there, a desert paintbrush. So I can get some nice color. This is my wife, and one of her favorite smells of the West is the big sagebrush, Artemisia tridentata. Over to the Gunnison Gorge National Conservation Area, just right next to the Black Canyon, here's a longleaf phlox. That same area is spring biscuit root. Back on the Billy Creek, 1st of April, another wild alyssum, a non-native. Down to the Escalante Canyon National Conservation Area, not too far from Junction here, matted evening primrose. That same area the next day, Fendler's biscuit root. Or the Gunnison Gorge on the 3rd. Another, this rock cress actually was able to identify as a beautiful rock cress. At least once the flowers are out, makes it much easier. That same area, another of the non-native filiary storksbill. It's one of the earlier plants that you see coming up in our area, although it is not a native. That is saltbush, Gunnison Gorge. That whole area has all of these atriplexes that grow along the sides of the trails that go through the Gunnison Gorge National Conservation Area. African mustard, another non-native. It's over in the Dry Creek Conservation Area. Down to Ridgeway State Park on April 6th, another example of a desert paintbrush. Stemless foreigner daisy, again, down at Ridgeway State Park. Here it is, over in Billy Creek. Prickly pear, Escalante Canyon National Conservation Area. Spiny sagebrush, Escalante, again, April 7th. Next day, hornheads in Uncompahgre National Forest up on the plateau there. Another example of the sagebrush buttercup. Again, on the Uncompahgre National Forest, spindle-rooted bluebells. You're starting to see some more colorful flowers coming out. Lance-leaf spring beauty up at the Black Canyon, Gunnison National Park. Short-style bluebells, again, up on the Black Canyon. Brevant's barberry, Gunnison Gorge Conservation out Eagle Valley. Walk out the Eagle Valley, about a mile or so, and there's good displays of the Fremont's barberry there. Gunnison Gorge again, in that same area, plain stone seed. Short's milk vetch. Starting to see more of the milk vetches starting coming up. Purple mustard, another example, Uncompahgre. Field chickweed, another non-native, up on Black Canyon, Gunnison, up to the middle of April. Graceful phlox, Black Canyon. Henbit, another non-native, but also up on Black Canyon, Gunnison. Find these around the visitor center area there. Slender wild parsley, again up on the Uncompahgre National Forest. Rimrock milk vetch, Escalante Canyon. And then here's another example of the rimrock milk vetch, the pod. See how hairy they are. San Verbena, Escalante Canyon National Conservation Area. If you go in there at the potholes area, and as you drive down and park and you walk over to the restroom area, there's all kinds of San Verbena along there. And the smell is just sometimes overpowering, especially early in the morning. Bunch of cactus, other cactus. We're at Escalante again, the woolly golden weed. Textile onions are popping up. Princess plume, sort of the yellow colored princess plume. There's also a white version of this that's essentially only found around the Gunnison, or not Gunnison, around the Grand Junction area, the white versions of this. Trip over to Rifle Falls State Park. Golden currants were in bloom there. You can go along some of the area there where there's little dams and such. A lot of these northern bog violets are found over there in that part of Rifle Falls State Park. And then, of course, lots of mosses are coming up and sending up their spores. Two grooved milk vetch. This is over near where the camping area is there in Rifle Falls State Park. And lots of box elders in that area. That's sort of wet area that coming down off of the waterfalls and such. And they were starting to come into flower. Meanwhile, back up at Black Canyon, the Gunnison, got arrowleaf balsam root are starting to come up. Prairie bluebells in a Black Canyon. Tufted evening primrose, Black Canyon as well. It's nice in the spring, get up early and get these pictures, and there's still dew on the wildflowers. Escalante Canyon and Moffitt's Beard's Tongue, Penstemon, zillions of penstemons here in Colorado. Scarlet Globe Mallow, Escalante Canyon. Another picture of the Scarlet Globe Mallow. Trailing Fleabane, Escalante. Annual Townsendia, Escalante. If you go up there to the potholes area and you come into the campground there and you go off to the left to the very farthest camping area, and as you go down the hillside from that camping area, at this time of the year, you often find lots and lots of these Townsendias. Mormon's Tea throughout that area. It's always fun to go there and take a closer look at all the little sections and little pine cone-ish parts of the flowers. Gunnison Gorge again, looking at the double bladder pods. Area milk vetch, looking straight in at the keel of the flower there. Again, Gunnison Gorge area, the perennial peas. Yellow milk vetch again at Gunnison Gorge. Gunnison Gorge, the catclaw horse bush. And these are, I always like looking at these. A lot of times when they first are in bloom, the branches run out parallel to the ground, and all along that branch there'll be all these buds coming up, and eventually they're all flowers with all the flowers sticking straight up from the branches that are running parallel to the ground. Mariposa lily, then Gunnison Gorge. Perky Sioux, Gunnison Gorge area. Round spike Carpanthia. There's a bunch of these cat eyes, as they're often called, in various species in the Gunnison Gorge area. And sometimes there's several different species that are growing right next to each other. Another spreading daisy, Gunnison Gorge. White top, another non-native, but this one also in Gunnison Gorge. Up on the plateau, the Uncompahgre National Forest, the blue-eyed Marion, these are very, very, very tiny little flowers. If you sort of push your fingers as close as you can without them touching, in that little space is how big these flowers are. And they're pretty hard to get a close-up picture. I usually put a lens on with a couple of extension tubes, and then on the front of my main macro lens, I put a magnifying lens on it to take these kind of pictures of these really small little flowers. Flicksweed, tansy mustard, and Escalante Canyon, another non-native. Oregon grape, flowers coming out now in Black Canyon of the Gunnison. Here we are near the end of April. Trumpet gooseberries, Black Canyon of the Gunnison. Gunnison Gorge. In the spring, you often get these little ponds of water in there, and you get these pepper weeds growing along the edges of these little ponds while they still have water. I always like them because you can find that the little stems running right out the middle of the flowers, and then up to or the middle of the leaves coming out to the flowers. Desert Princess Plume. Again, we're over in the Gunnison Gorge, and now the flowers are opened up quite a bit from the last pictures that we saw. Aztec milk vetch. This is on Ridgway State Park. I actually walked by this plant about 3 or 4 different times before I finally bent down and looked at it. And again, the flowers here, these really super tiny little flowers, really easy to overlook. This, the picture below was literally right in the middle of the trail that everybody walked on. And it was so small that people, I guess, just didn't walk on it. And you can see these beautiful little flowers. Over the willows, you can see the willows are starting to flower out. The coyote willows right along the stream there through below the dam at Ridgway State Park. More different kinds of clovers. This is the holly leaf clover. The 9-leaf biscuit root in Ridgway State Park. Trip up to Colorado National Monument on the 1st of May. Another penstemon, the blue stem penstemon. And another example of the double black bladder pod. These are one of the earlier flowers that come out in the spring and in various areas in our area. The cliff fenler bush here, this is over in Montrose County, down where I live. Choke cherries. Again, if you go down along the Uncompahgre River and hike along there, you'll find a lot of these choke cherries and other sort of berry bushes and trees and such. Billy Creek State Park or State Wildlife Area, the two brood milk vetch. The sulfur buckwheat. Find this all around areas of Montrose and actually up and down the western slope here. Over at Billy Creek again, the silver lupine, scarlet gilia, Billy Creek. Up here at Escalante Canyon or closer to Gunnison here, Gunnison. Grand Junction, nettles, sago lily. It's always fun to look inside the plant. You can see a little bug in there. Sometimes you find bumblebees and other bees like sleeping in the little cups of these flowers. Escalante Canyon Moffat's beard's tongue, and one of the many penstemons we find in our area. Here's another one of the cat's eye. This is the little yellow cat's eye. Tracy's daisy, Escalante Canyon. Another stemless Thomsondia. or sand verbenas. Plains prickly pear. Lots of cacti out through Colorado National Monument and also down into the Escalante areas, Dominguez Canyon. Lamb's tongue ragwort up in the Uncompahgre National Forest area, down into May. Howell's Phacelia, Medicine Gorge. When I looked up this particular Phacelia on the plant identification websites, there was no known picture of this. So they picked up this picture, put it on there. It's the first picture posted on sort of VONAPS, which is sort of the biology compendium of all the plants and flowers. Yellow sedum, up on the Uncompahgre National Forest. Winter fat in bloom. I just took a picture just even before yesterday of winter fat over in the area over by Montrose. Oh yeah, it's sort of funny because I posted a picture of this, and one of the comments was good old, and they gave the old name, which is much shorter. I mean, I don't even know how. I guess I could, however I pronounce it, would just get slaughtered, you know. And I got to wonder how they came up with that name. You know, a lot. When I used to work for the National Park Service, and I used to train new rangers coming on board to work for the summer, and I had this one woman, and she came up to me and said, "I'm expected to do all these programs, and I don't know what to talk about." I said, "Well, just do some research." And she said, "Yeah, well, I've been doing some research. I still can't come up with an idea." And I said, "Well, what is your major in college?" And she said, "The classics and classic languages." And I says, "Oh, the perfect thing for a park ranger, because most of these plants have Latin rooted names, and you can sit there and look at those names and know what it means and what the story is behind them. It's like, this is a story of Aeschylus is killing some bad dragon or something, and chopping the head off and bring it back to the king. You know, all those kinds of stories that you have from Roman and Greek mythology. And a lot of that's taken up into the names. You know, so some of these names are because it looks like the head of a dragon. They don't call it head of the dragon. They give it some other name that's like Latin, which means head of the dragon kind of stuff. But she knew all those, and she did her programs. And she says everybody loved it because everybody has, just like you, says, pronounce that name. I can't pronounce it. But it also, if you knew the root of all the different parts of that, it probably tells some story. And a lot of plants are named like that. You know, it's because it looks like the head of a cat or whatever, you know, kind of a thing. Western hawkbeard, Gunnison Gorge area. Here's a gall on a sagebrush. Of course, all those have little insects in them. Harriman's yucca, one of the many yuccas, or several yuccas that we find in our area. This one, Colorado National Monument. And then here's another yucca, the banana yucca. This is a really big yucca, big flowers, as opposed to the Harriman's yucca, which is much smaller. Gunnison's skyrocket up at Colorado National Monument. Non-native, invasive tamarisk. A lot of different projects are set up to try to eliminate or at least cut back on the tamarisk in our area. Mormon tea, that's now more in bud and flower, and some of the previous pictures we saw earlier in the spring. Another Colorado National Monument, a fishhook cactus. Yellow Crepanthia. This is the same family as the cat's eye, which we saw earlier, which is white with yellow stamens and such on it. Here's a Utah juniper gall. I mean, the first time I saw this, I went, what is that? Look at that flower. And I looked and says, and I couldn't find anything. And I was up at the Colorado National Monument. I came in and asked the rangers, I says, can you identify something for me? And I had my camera and I showed them this picture. I says, well, I know it's a Utah, or I think it's a Utah juniper, but what is that? And they went, for at least the person I showed it to, it says, I don't know what that is. Well, it ends up that beautiful flowerish looking thing is actually a gall. Threadleaf sunflower, Colorado National Monument. Again, another milk vetch. This one, the Rimrock milk vetch. Common salsify. Pass flower. It's up on the Camp Bird Road. If you go down to Uray and head up out of town, you Camp Bird and Pass flower. Fendler's rock cress, also along that road. Back down to Billy Creek, graceful phlox, field pacoon, white margined pussy toes. A lot of different kinds of pussy toes in our area. This one along Billy Creek. Cliff Rose, Colorado National Monument. Catclaw horsebush. Earlier, we've seen a picture where you're just getting the buds of this going in on here. You don't want to reach in there. There's a lot of very spiny things that prick you. Utah serviceberry. Billy Creek area. Black-handed gunness and death camps. Don't want to eat this guy. Looks to some people it looks like onions and such, and it does have onion-looking tubers and such. Fernleaf desert parsley, black-handed venison. Dwarf waterleaf, black-handed. Grand Mesa forest. Rocky Mountain iris here, first part of May. Western groundsel, Black Canyon. Pine leaf biscuit root. Mountain mahogany. I've always loved the mountain mahogany, especially later in the year when they have their seeds are just like these wispy looking things. This one up in the Black Canyon venison. Another stone seed, this one a plains stone seed. Sugar bowls in Billy Creek area. These are in the Clematis genus. Wild candy tuft. Mount Sneffels wilderness. Another rock crest, Drummond's milk crest, again over in that Mount Sneffels wilderness area. Different Townsendia in Montrose County. Blue violet up on Grand Mesa. Virginia strawberries. Spring beauties up in Grand Mesa. Escalante Canyon, again, another yucca, the narrow leaf yucca. Chihuahua flax, Escalante Canyon. Haven't seen too many of these over the last few years looking for wildflowers. Large flowered rush pink, Escalante Canyon. Steppe Agoceras, Black Canyon, the Gunnison, or Escalante Canyon. Tamarisk, another one of our non-native invasive plants. Beautiful daisies, Gunnison Gorge. White-stemmed evening primrose. Gunnison Gorge pallid milkweed. We've done Mary Mentz and I have done several trips through the desert area over here. You know, we occasionally get people from the front range coming over, and none of them have ever seen pallid milkweeds. So I think that they just don't spend much time over there in the western state. Taper tip onion, Gunnison Gorge, Billy Creek up with Flats, beautiful flowers. Star lilies, Billy Creek. Arrowhead balsam roots are starting to get more flowers. Nettles out Larkspur, again in Billy Creek area. Well, you know, I've been going through a whole bunch of flowers and such. Does anybody have any questions? And I got more flowers, pictures, but any more questions? Or any questions? This time of year, I like to look through the, oh yeah. Yeah. What? Probably some very small little flies, little tiny little flies in that stuff. You know, like some of those really small plants like that are right along the ground. And so, you know, for quite a few number of plants, ants become, and I don't think I have any in this show, but I have pictures of some flowers. They're just covered with ants, like monument plants. If you go over and looking at monument plants, which are really huge, and blossom.
Billy Creek State Wildlife Area is between Kelowna and Ridgeway State Park.
Yes, Billy Creek area, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was saying that to my husband. He's
okay.
rubbernecking Jim. I grew up in Montrose.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a very nice area. It's closed right now. It doesn't open till May 1st because they close it at I think December 1st through May 1st. It's closed, so all the elk and everything can have their calving and all that kind of stuff. So absolutely no one in that area. I mean, you can't even go over there and get a permit to go in there during that period of time. And I usually do a trip on May 1st into that area. So if you're interested in that, give me a call. And I think May 1st is like a Wednesday or something like that. And if you're interested, I'll tell you where we're going to meet as you drive into that area.
I'm familiar with it from my distant past.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just talking with the other people that are here.
Yep.
And so my favorite time of going is the first day that they open it up. And this is a state wildlife area, so you have to have a permit to be in a state wildlife area or a fishing license or hunting license. And so I already have my fishing license for this year, and I do not go fishing. I just have that fishing license so I can go into the state wildlife areas. Because if you're in there and if the rangers come by and you don't have that permit, you get fined. The other thing that's nice is that several of the state wildlife areas across Colorado allow you to camp in those areas. And if you have their fishing license or your state wildlife area or a hunting license, you can camp in those areas for free. And they're really nice, and there's hardly ever anybody in those areas. So just an aside there. Here's a Radowski's stick seed. This is also in Ridgeway State Park, and these are one of those plants. If you walk through it, you know, like or you let your dog walk through it, you know, picking seeds off of them because they have the Velcro-ish seeds. You can sort of see that by looking at the picture there. Fairy bells along the Camp Bird Road later in the summer, as we get through the summer. These will have berries on them. White violet, again, along the Camp Bird Road. Aztec milk vetch, again, this is one of those, this is a close-up again of this really super tiny little flower. American Plum, Ridgeway State Park. Golden Banner, Ridgeway. Western Red Columbine. Beautiful, beautiful flowers. The Ohio Spiderwort. And not a lot of spiderworts. I haven't seen a lot of spiderworts in Colorado, but other parts of the country. When we lived in Ohio, I saw lots and lots of spiderworts. Very nice. Leafy Jacob's Ladder, Compadre National Forest. Britain's Skullcap. Took a trip over to visit my friend that lived up on Sugarloaf Mountain, right outside of Boulder. And of course, I would always get up early in the morning and shoot wildflower pictures. These are all in her. She owns like 10 acres or something up in there. Sugarloaf. Another hairy cinquefoil. Western wildflower, sand lilies. On the way back, I stopped at Fulford Cave Campground outside of, can't remember. But go up and take pictures of our blue violets there. Nuttall's Larkspur. Or evening primroses, this one, a matted one. Mountain Lover. And these very small little flowers, not as small as some of the other flowers I was talking about, but unless you sort of know where to look, a lot of people, I think, walk right by this plant. Scarlet Gilia, sticky blue geraniums. Oops. Slender tube skyrockets up there at Black Canyon. Patchy plume. This is actually in my front yard where I live in Montrose. One of my favorite bushes to plant. I've talked with several people that have had these plants for like 20 or 30 years in their gardens or around their houses and such. And I've had several people say, you know, we planted that Apache blue plume like 20 years ago, and we watered it a little bit the first year, and they've never watered it since. For like 20 or 30 years, there's just the normal amount of rain is enough to keep that plant going. And in the spring, the flowers are beautiful, and then as the season progresses, the seed pods are beautiful too, and those last way out into the fall or even into the winter time. Chocolate flowers. These are Montrose. Desert 4 o'clocks. Montrose. Back down to Billy Creek. Matte penstemons. Prairie lobe sundrops. These are around Montrose. Billy Creek area. Shrubby cinquefoils. Desert trumpets. Gunnison Gorge. These are, again, really, really small flowers. And they're just little tiny little things, and they grow on the ends of these stems that come out. And any little wisp of wind will blow these things around. So they're really hard to get a close-up picture of them. And one of my tricks for getting pictures of these, and for other plants that are at the end of branches and such, is whenever I go to have Chinese food or Japanese food or whatever, I always grab the chopsticks. I eat with a fork, but I take the chopsticks home. And the chopsticks, you can sort of stick them in the ground around these and the plants, and you can get them so they don't waver around whenever the wind's blowing. And so, and then I can sit down and get my, when I'm trying to shoot these, the lens coming out of my camera is about this long. You know, so it's really hard to get that and hold it just right to be able to shoot pictures of these really small little flowers. But it's really fun to get a good picture of them. Randall's rock cress, another rock cress. Gunnison milk vetch, a lot of milk vetches in there. Indian paintbrush. Prairie smoke. Beautiful flowers, and when it goes to seed, it's beautiful as well. Rocky Mountain groundsel. It's North Parlin Flats. North Parlin Flats is just a little bit east of Gunnison. So if you go to Gunnison, drive about 10 miles or so, and then head north, that takes you up into an area with lots and lots of really cool plants up in that area. Another one, North Parlin Flats, a tadpole buttercup, woodland star, same area, Wyoming paintbrush, Lost Canyon, buckbush. This is also right outside of Gunnison, maybe a little bit to the east of Gunnison. Gray phlox, same area, large flowered rush pink, many flowered phlox, same area, Rowland's twin pod, sticky dahlia. Boulder, that's over at Boulder and Texan. Yeah, I know, non-native. I often get comments of, like I take pictures of the flowers, whatever they are, and people will say, beautiful picture of a terrible plant. I get lots of those things. Yeah, I know. I when I post it, I say this isn't non-native, so I'm not trying to hoist it off on somebody. And also these pictures like the bindweeds and other non-native stuff. If you go to the Colorado Native Plant Society, like Facebook pages, I never post non-native plants there. I post non-native plants over in Colorado wildflowers because they're not particular about that. And so like this, if I get a really nice picture, I'll post that over on Colorado wildflowers. I don't post it on the Colorado Native Plant Society. Every once in a while, I'll get one there by mistake, and somebody will say, "Oh, Jim, that is not a native." And I'll say, "Okay, thank you," and I'll take it down and move it over to Colorado wildflowers. Boarhound. These are mints, Boulder Canyon, Uncle Padre National Forest. Bundle root, broom rape. These are parasitic plants, or at least partially parasitic. Choke cherries. Uncle Padre. Iron Springs Campground. One of my favorite areas to go up and shoot pictures as we get into the summer, because it's 10, 15 minute drive from my house, and you're up on the Uncle Padre National Forest Plateau there at about 9,000 feet, and there's a bunch of springs across that area, and they're good places to go and look for wildflowers. And the Iron Springs Campground is a free campground. And I've occasionally tell people, you want a place to camp for free up on the Uncle Padre area. And there's often lots of wildflowers in that area. Landsleaf Spring Beauty, Marsh Marigold. This is right on the stream that flows right next to the campground there. Plantain leaf buttercups. Going over to the Kirikani National Recreation Area, there's a Cliff Fendler bush, that's flower. Kirikani again, Geyer's onions. Got silverjack. There's a marsh buttercup. Black Canyon Gunnison, again, a non-native chickweed, also your chickweed. Nettle Sago lily up on the Black Canyon showy milkweed, sulfur buckwheat, Black Canyon, white violets, again, Black Canyon, Iron Spring Campground, dwarf bilberries are right in the middle of the campground where everybody camps. Really right next to the trees that are growing there, and there's all these bilberries, which are relatives in blueberry. Iron Springs, field horsetails, globe flowers, right along that little creek that runs through there. A smooth woodland star, again, as you're going over to that particular area, little Forest Service area there. Along the Blue Lakes Trail, some Franciscan bluebells. Bluebells sometimes are really hard to identify. And I learned this the hard way because I would go out and say, oh, look at this bluebell. And I take a picture of it. And it says, this is different from other bluebells that I've looked at. And then when I go over and pick up the Bible for identifying plants, which is this book here, The Flora of Colorado, has most of the plants you find in Colorado. No, very little pictures. And just these descriptions, word descriptions for identifying these things. So on some of these bluebells, if you look at the bluebell, and if the hairs are pointing one way, it's this species on the leaves. It's this species. If they're pointing a different way, it's a different species. And that's the only difference I can see. So I'm going to get these out, and a lot of us people that are out in the field carry a little magnifying, looks like a loop that you find in jewelry, because they're about 20 powers. Which way is the flowers, or which way are the hairs growing? Are they going towards the tip, or towards the side of the leaf, or back to the stem? And depending on which way that is, it's one species or it's another species. So when I go out taking pictures, I try to shoot a beautiful picture, and then I try to shoot a number of pictures. So when I get back home, I have stuff to look at. What are the shape of the leaves? How are they attached to the stem? So get pictures that show all of those sorts of things. And then when I'm at home, I can start going through my book like this to make all those identifications. Let's see, where are we? Oh, we're in June. Rocky Mountain bee plant over there down in the Four Corners area. So I got down there this spring for this year, 2017. Mount Sneffels, again, Northern Fairy Candelabra, more penstemon, blue stem penstemon, Colorado National Monument, dwarf evening primrose, smaller versions, hairy golden asters, Colorado National Monument, rosy skyrockets, Colorado National Monument, paper tip onion, Colorado National Monument, yellow cryptanthia, Tiricani, desert trumpets, Indian hemp over in Tiricani area, mountain mahogany, Tiricani, narrowleaf cottonwood, Landsford sweet pea, pumpkin padre, golden banner, mountain golden banner, pumpkin padre, yellow leaf crimson, primrose, Banyan Padre, yellow sedum, kitten tails, Yankee Boy Basin hour. If you're getting up higher, the snow is melting. I bet you get up to the Yankee Boy now. Queen's crown, Yankee Boy. Gold leaf paintbrush, Yankee Boy. Back down the Four Corners, broom ragwort, woodjune, brown stem, prickly bear, Four Corners. Cane choya, Four Corners, greasewood, Four Corners. But as you go further south, you see more greasewood and less artemisias. Then there's Menoroo, Red Mountain Creek. Back down the Four Corners, it's starting to get Red Mountain Pass, the Star Lily, another penstemon, the thick penstemon, Four Corners, long flowered skyrock, Four Corners, Montrose, area, desert sweet, red dome black and blanket flower, white, Four Corners area, scarlet, altar, birds of paradise on the Four Corners area. Blanket flower, Four Corners. Broom dahlia, Four Corners. Gypsum scorpion, Sylvian, Four Corners area. Little leaves, sumac, Four Corners. Gabriel, Daisy, four corners. Prickly lettuce, four corners. Scarlet bee blossom, four corners arena. And then we're at June 20th. And at 10 o'clock or 10:24 at night, it's the end of the spring. And then summer starts. But that's a whole different program. That's a whole different program. So enjoy your time out in spring wildflowers. You know, it gets after a long winter, and if you like wildflowers, it's like everybody is itching to go and look at wildflowers. My word is just go do it. Just go do it. I usually get up early in the morning once the wildflowers start to bloom. So I'm usually on the road out looking for wildflowers about 5 o'clock in the morning. Best time to take pictures is just as the sun is coming out and just as the sun sets. But in the morning, if you're out taking pictures of wildflowers, if it was a little bit moist, you start to get dew on flowers and such that make really beautiful pictures of beautiful flowers with little drops of dew on them. And then all the little bugs, insects, especially the lilies and some of those kinds of plants. That little bees and other bugs will get right inside the flower to spend the night. And you get there early in the morning, they haven't woken up and left the flower yet. So that's pretty fun to see. And taking pictures of wildflowers are just a couple. There's a plant called stiff gentian. And if you want to like this, right, here's how I did it. So here is the gentian. And I've got this light that's going to be a circle. And I can put it in there and turn it on. The right half, the left half on, or make them brighter or less bright. So the light is shining right up into the flower. And then over here, I have a flash and flashing this to light it up. So and then you look at this picture, you can see the light is coming up like this. It's coming up like this to hit the plant, and I end up with so I spent a lot of time thinking about how pictures should be done and what are they going to look like when I take a picture of them.